Directors as Director of Operations. I'm also acting as nominating chair and as a moderator for this meeting. Mike Quinn will be acting as recorder, and I want to thank you all for coming. First of all, I'd like to say that I hope this program will provide you with information best to assist you with deciding what candidates are best suited to make your decisions on your behalf for the betterment of Summerset II. I want to commend all candidates for throwing their names in the election process. While there are 4 candidates running for the 3 open positions, we should all be appreciative of all individuals wanting to take on this responsibility and work. It is a lot of work. With that, I'm going to introduce the candidates in alphabetical order. We have Cindy Bennett, who is on a pre-planned vacation. I will be providing her statement for this evening. We have Julie Wantag, we have Linda Hand, and we have Shelton Helms, and all in alphabetical order. Thank you. With that, I'd like to kind of give some preview of the format of the evening so we know how the evening is going to work. First of all candidates will pull a number from the container to determine the respective place to present their statement to the resident members. In that order, whatever their number is, they will go in that turn. All candidates will be allocated a maximum of 5 minutes to present their statement to the members. And on the conclusion of their statements, then we're going to open it to the floor for questions. And in all fairness to everyone, we're going to take 2 questions. We're going to rotate the process. We're going to have 2 questions from the attendees that made the effort to be here. Thank you. And then we're going to take one write-in, one that we received that I will basically provide. I'll basically tell you what that is, and we'll get a response from whomever that's directed to in the statement or the written question. Candidates will have up to 3 minutes to respond, and if provided there's time, there will be a closing statement that they can offer if there is time. So that being said,
here in Somerset. A little bit about me. Bob and I moved to Summerset II in July of 2017, and we immediately got involved in the community by joining the Rascals, and I joined the Rascals in the social club. In 2018, I was asked to run by a then current board member, and I served for treasurer for 1 year. The next year, the second year of my first term, I served as president, and then the following 2 years, I also served as president because I got reelected. So why am I running again? Well, truth be told, Bob was also asked to run, and I drew the short straw. I do enjoy helping others. I think it was, when you grow up with a family of 7 brothers and sisters, you learn really quickly that you have to help each other, otherwise nothing gets done. And I want to make Summerset II the best that it can be. Not that it's bad now, but we're always looking for ways to improve where we live and what we do, and that's one of my things that I'd like to accomplish. Based on my previous board experience, people asked me to run, and they appreciated what I and the other board members were able to accomplish, including, updating the clubhouse. Qualifications. I'm willing to commit the time necessary to be on the board. It's not just 1 meeting a month. There's a lot of time involved when you're on the board, and I'm willing to commit that time. I'm very familiar with the governing documents because I helped revamp the CC&Rs and the bylaws, and I keep apprised of what laws affect our community, civil, state, federal, whatever laws they are. I put the best interest of the communities first, and I try to carry my duties without bias or discrimination. I am a good communicator. Good is a bad word because I shouldn't use that as an English teacher. I communicate clearly, let's say that. And I treat everyone with civility, respect, and I maintain confidentiality. Goals. Our association is a corporation, and as directors, we act as fiduciaries, meaning we protect the assets of others, meaning the association. As a fiduciary, some of my goals are to protect the property value of our homes, maintain association property and ensure it's in top condition with judicious spending, repair if possible, replace when necessary, preserve a healthy reserve for large future expenses, increase member participation, and I don't mean just come to our social events, I mean in general, increase participation. Continue the positive relationship with the golf course so it continues to operate. We don't want what happened to Deer Ridge to happen to Brentwood Golf. And continue to update association property so Summerset appeals to potential future buyers. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Julie. I'm going to be reading a statement from Cindy Bennett. Cindy had a pre-planned vacation, so could not attend. However, she did want her presence known and that she is a viable candidate, and she does want your interest in her potential vote for being on the board. That said, I'm going to read verbatim her statement. It is dated August 8th, 2023. Cindy Bennett candidate statement. First, let me say that I regard this Meet the Candidate Night as extremely important in the process of choosing qualified board members. I am unable to be here this evening as I am traveling most of the month of August. Many of you know me, and those of you who do not, I can assure you that I have nothing but the best interest in mind for the residents of Summerset II. As Vice President, I have been involved in every decision that the board has had to make. I have supervised the Rovers, gate attendants, and office administrator. I currently am actively serving as the board liaison for the newsletter committee and am a member of, I'm a member of the board advisory committee. As of this August, I will be resuming my position as liaison to the architectural committee. Any position on the board requires someone who is dedicated to the community and who does not mind dealing with the daily situations, and yes, even on weekends and evenings. I have worked diligently over the past 2 years and am proud of the work I have done. It is imperative that a board member is someone who can prioritize, be a problem solver, and sometimes think outside the box. Board members communicate multiple times a day, and the method of communication is by email. We are checking our email constantly throughout the day and receive 10 to 15 emails per day. It is not an option to say, I am not computer savvy. It is all well and good for a resident to choose not to have or use a computer, but is not a viable option for any board member. If you believe that I will continue to have your best interest of this community at heart, then I would be honored to remain on the Summerset II Board of Directors. Thank you for your interest and time. It is appreciated. And number 3.
You want me to hold that? We have to get that one. Sure.
Linda Ham.
I have to hold this here because I'm short. I'm going to read my statement with more information added. My name is Linda Ham. I have been a homeowner and resident for 20 years. I am currently on the architectural committee and for a second time, and have been responsible for a total of 5 game groups at one time. My technology skills are limited, and many others in our community are just like me, and either don't have the technological devices or choose to use them. Because we are not on constant contact or the web, we continue to get left out of important information. Communication is very important, and I care about everyone in the community, not just those who use technology. I would like to see pipeline to the board be put back into use again. For those who don't know what that is, it's a form that a resident fills out, their name, address, phone, or whatever other means that they want to receive a response. You state your concern or question, and the board reads it and responds. If it is too technical a question for the board, then they notify the homeowner that it will be passed on to management. We do not need to contact management for everything. The current and past boards have come up with ideas and implemented things that are illegal and put our Somerset at risk. That too needs to change. And last, the activity director's office needs to be a more friendly and open place to visit. No more closed blinds and closed door. I've had several people comment about the lack of social activities. We need an improvement in that area. We all want this to be a community that we can feel comfortable and safe, and I would like to play a part in that.
Thank you, Linda Ham. And more, it's Sheldon Helms.
Flip that thing up and let me stand on it.
What's that? This?
I think I'm not tall enough. Thank you, awesome.
Well, you just brought us down to our level.
It's uncomfortable. Hello, everyone. My name is Sheldon, and I'm an alcoholic. Oh, that's which one. Wrong speech. Good evening. I stand before, my name is Sheldon Helms. I live at 323 Upton Pine Drive where that big yellow lion is. I stand before you today with great enthusiasm and a genuine desire to serve our community as a member of the Homeowners Association Board at Summerset II. I believe that my experience, my dedication, and my passion make me an ideal candidate for this important role. First, let me highlight my involvement within our community. I'm a 2.5-year resident, so I'm kind of a new kid on the block of Summerset II, and for the past year, I have been an active participant in nearly every HOA board meeting that we've had, listening intently, and engaging in constructive discussions with residents and with the board. This regular attendance has allowed me to familiarize myself with many of the issues that affect our neighborhood and to understand the concerns of our residents and witness firsthand some of the decisions that are made by our board to address them. In addition, I've served as the chair of the architectural committee. That role provided me with an opportunity to work with a very talented group of people and to meet many of my neighbors. But it also provided me with valuable insight into the architectural guidelines and standards that shape our community's appearance. Through that experience, I gained a better appreciation for the importance of preserving our neighborhood's aesthetic integrity, while also considering the needs and desires of our residents in beautifying their homes. I also had the privilege of working on numerous projects alongside our current board president, Diane Brand. These collaborative projects have allowed me to understand some of the intricacies of board operations and to witness her strong commitment to the community and her dedication to improving the daily life of all of our residents, qualities I hope to be able to emulate if I'm given the opportunity to serve. One of those projects involved my creating a science-based survey to determine how people felt about changing the pool hours to extend family time. I designed it to collect data on when and how often people use the pool, when and how often they host guests at the pool, and their opinions about the proposal to change the hours. Unfortunately, the majority of the board voted not to use that survey, and instead decided to change the pool hours after asking residents to send in their opinions and their information through our website. That decision was somewhat of a disappointment to me because I believe that getting detailed feedback from the people who live here should be the default action whenever changes are made that affect all of us. As it stands, it would appear that the pool hour changes are working for the most part. So I think the venture, however, could have been a little more democratically handled. And if I get on the board, I promise to push for that in the future. Other volunteer duties that I took part in, including calling many of you about the new mailbox keys, that was fun, and door-to-door visits to remind you to vote on the Articles of Incorporation, which was costing us thousands of dollars every time we revisited that vote, so I was happy to see that it passed. Many of you know that I'm a psychology professor, which I think allows me to bring a unique perspective to the table. Psychology teaches us to listen, to empathize, to try to find common ground even in the face of differing opinions. And I firmly believe that rationality and respect should be the guiding principle in all of our dealings with fellow residents. If you give me the opportunity to serve on the board, I promise to commit myself to upholding the best interests of our community. In conclusion, I think that my experience with the Architectural Committee, my work with current board members, regular participation at board meetings, interactions with our community have equipped me with the knowledge, empathy, and dedication to serve as a valuable member of the HOA board. Thank you for your gracious time, and I want your vote.
Thank you, Sheldon Helms. Shorty has to put the step up. Okay, so with that, we are going to open into questions to the candidates, and Bob Wantock has graciously offered to kind of shuttle the mic amongst yourselves, and so now I'm looking for the first question, please, out there in the audience there. Anyone? Okay, please, right there. And we need your name and your address, please.
My name, well, don't call me on. My name is Dale Bestholt. I live on 1795 Rico Terrace. Been a resident here for 23 years. I don't know whether we're allowed one question or two.
One question, please.
One question.
At a time.
My question, I would like to ask the candidates, how do they feel about that I have to drive over a bump as a resident every time I come in? I don't care about the guests, but when I come in, I got a front gate, I have to drive over a bump, go through the gate, go to a stop sign in 500 feet. I avoided it, and then somebody decided to put a bump on the back gate. So I cannot, as an owner, I can't enter my own home without going across the speed bump. So my question is, are you in favor of the speed bumps at the gates? And if you are, do you think the community needs more speed bumps inside the complex? That's it. I'll save my next question for tomorrow night.
And you're directing that to all the candidates, correct?
Each candidate
okay.
might answer,
Okay.
and it's a shame the one who's in charge isn't here.
Well, I can't answer for Cindy Bennett, but I know I can answer because she was in favor for the bumps, the speed things that we put in. It was a unanimous decision, so that being said, I would say she was in favor. So with that, Julie, could you please, we're going to go in alphabetical order.
Alphabetical order,
Yes.
by first name.
Yes. They knew you were Julie.
All right, just checking. All right, to answer your question, I am in favor of the speed bump at the front gate because we did have a lot of people that would put their clickers on way down, halfway from Balfour, and then speed through the gates like they were at the Indianapolis 500. I think that prevents people from going too fast through our gate. The back gates, as I've said in previous board meetings, no. It's a very short distance from Fairview up to our gate. People really can't get enough speed up to destroy our gates or to damage them unless they are really, really trying hard. The gates have been hit in the past, the exit gates, not the entrance gates. So I would not have agreed or supported the idea of the speed bumps at the back gate. As far as speed bumps around the community, I wouldn't be in favor of speed bumps, but there are a lot of very long, straight streets that people do drive really fast on. And if you're on one of those roads, when you come out of your driveway or cross the street in front of your house, sometimes you are taking your life in your hands. So I'd have to look at it more, but I would probably be in favor of speed tables, possibly.
I think you're talking about speed
Depending.
humps, right? Speed humps?
Yeah, well, yeah, a table or a speed hump is a longer and, kind of like what they have at 3. They're wider and they don't go bump bump. Unless you're going, 40, then your head hits the ceiling in your car. Okay.
I am not in favor of speed bumps, and I don't understand why they have to be at any of the gates. None of the other Somersets have those at their gates either. 2 of them at least do have, now I know it's called a speed hump. They do have those inside.
That was great. I don't believe I was asked, so thank you for asking now. I was a little shocked that they're kind of sharp. They're not the sharpest speed bumps that I've ever been over, but they are pretty jarring in a small car, which I have a very small. Like Julie, I was not in favor of the one in the back, but I have seen a lot of safety issues, especially coming in through here and turning onto Upton Pine from Somerset. I know that Somerset is a speed drag race, and so is this, but it's mostly not residents in my opinion. I've seen a lot of gardeners and visitors that I don't recognize that kind of, I don't know, they don't look like they live here, speeding around here. My concern even more than the speed bumps, which is a drag, since you brought up traffic, is this curb out here not being red next to the pool. I think this is a problem. People park there. I know it's more convenient to come to the pool there, but if you park there, you're making a small street even smaller. And people come around here like a bat out of hell, turning this corner. They pick up speed from the gate after they've been over the speed bump and zoom around here. And I've seen people nearly get clipped just trying to walk legally across. So I think I'm not necessarily in favor of removing any of the speed bumps, but I do think we need to revisit traffic safety. I know we did that in the past, and we had some very interesting creative ways of doing that, with having people sign that they know what the speed limit is and that kind of thing, and that created a kerfuffle. But I really do think we need to make sure that the safety of our residents is paramount.
Okay, so on to our next question. We have a hand out there for another question, please.
I don't know about a question, but I have a comment.
We're taking questions.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Gregory. I'm on 328 Gladstone. As long as we're talking about traffic safety, since I live on Gladstone, it is definitely a speedway. And I want to know, how can we get golf carts to stop and look both ways before they cross the street? And if we can't get them to do that, how many points do I get for anyone? And I want to know what, if anything, you guys can do to help that.
Do we have to go in the same order?
Yes, please.
Okay. Stephanie, are you talking about when the golf carts cross our road to get to the other side, like to the next green?
Right off Gladstone, there's, and that bridge, that comes over, they come like a bat out of hell, over across there, they don't even look.
I believe, and I'd have to look into this some more, I think there is a stop sign at the
There
one
is,
on Somerset.
and they ignore it.
Well, okay. This is a tough question because we are not the police. Like the association, I mean, not just the board. The association is not the police. I think we could mention it to Rex at the golf course and say, look, we'd really appreciate it if you would ask golfers to slow down. I don't know how effective that would be. We could ask him to put a stop sign at the other one down on Gladstone by the pond. That might help, but I think it comes down to the golfers. Whether or not you can make them follow stop signs or not. They don't stop at the one here, the one at Somerset, or Upton Pine and Somerset. So we could talk to them and ask them, maybe put a crosswalk, paint a crosswalk on the road, just something that's going to raise their attention a little more.
Well, this is a subject that I think about daily, because I live right back there. I can see when people come in the gate, not coming through it, but when they sort of stop at the stop
Linda, you
sign.
might want to be a little more specific about where you are
Oh.
there. Okay, you're on Upton Pine.
Yeah, I'm on
Okay.
Upton Pine across from the pool, right behind me
Okay,
here.
okay.
I can look out the front window, which I do day and night because I don't sleep too. And I see people go, let's see, it has to do with the golf carts, okay. You don't even have to be a golfer. I'm not a golfer and I have a golf cart. So it's anybody in a golf cart. I would say probably 99% of golf carts don't pay attention to the stop signs. I don't know what you do about that. And when I'm in the back end of here, I see them doing it off of the streets, probably Gladstone too. I don't know what the answer is to that. It frustrates me. It's a safety issue. And the golf course is just as bad. Somebody needs to talk to the employees because they just go right on through all the stop signs.
Well, I don't know the answer either, but the second part of your question is 10.
Good.
10 points. Don't do that. Maybe we move the speed bump, Dell's speed bump, over to where the golf carts have to come onto our street. I don't know if that's a possibility, but it has to be something. I haven't noticed them zipping across, but I have noticed that people in golf carts go very fast through our streets. And that's an issue too. Some people are not that ambulatory. Some of us aren't really paying attention. We don't expect it, and you can't hear them coming. So I don't know the answer to your question, but thank you for asking it. It's something we should really think about.
Okay, I'm going to do a write-in question, and the question is directed to all candidates. If you are elected to the board, what role or position on the board do you feel you are best qualified for and why? Willie?
Okay, as I mentioned in my introductory remarks, I have 3 years experience as president and 1 year as treasurer. So I would like to be president again because I think I did a good job, a really good job as president, trying to do things for the community that improved it and also brought us more into the technology society where we have a website now and we have constant contact and we have more messaging and information going out to residents in that manner. So that's why I'd like to be president. And I get along with people. And I like to help people.
Do we get to know who wrote the question?
Yes, actually, I did. Austin Fain, 341 Upton Pine. I'm not demonstrating my own practice, I apologize. It was familiar to me.
Okay, well, I've been on PTA boards, nothing like this. And I've thought about that. You know, in the past, when we do this process, actually when they advertise it, they don't say, do you want to run for secretary? Do you want to run for treasurer? You just want to run for the board. And last year, when I found out how they figure out how to do it, I had serious questions like, well, how do I know what I'm capable of if somebody takes what I think I can do? Anyway, I've been secretary and vice president on PTA boards.
I was a little surprised by how they figured it out last time too. 2 people got voted onto the board and then people just took the microphone and said, I'll do this, I'll do this. My understanding is that if 2 people say the same thing, then the new board takes a vote. So there is some, there's some method to the madness, but it was pretty surprising. You're right, Linda. I think I would be best as secretary. Bylaw 9.12 says, this is where you fall asleep, the secretary shall keep a book of all minutes, shall give notice of all the meetings, shall keep a proper record of such a notice, and shall keep the books, records, and documents of the association. I know part of that's done by our management company, but it doesn't mean the secretary couldn't oversee it or do some of that. Also, I want to let you know that I've been teaching for 27 years. I have had 15,000 students, and I have never lost a single thing from a student. Not a paper, not a test. I have all my grade books, all in Excel spreadsheets going back for decades. I am nothing if not organized and obsessive about it. So I think I'm a pretty good secretary.
I just want to add a little clarity to that, being maybe a prior person in the last campaign or candidacy. That was something that I also felt was a little awkward, and I'm going to promote this year that we, when the votes are taken and the people are selected for the board, that we adjourn for a brief time, have a discussion, and then come back and announce at that same meeting.
Can I jump in on that?
Absolutely.
Civil code says you have to do it in open session, the conversation.
Yeah.
You can't go to executive session or a private area and discuss it.
Okay, well then I guess then everyone's going to have to give their first and second once.
I do. How do you try this out?
I do remember, and I don't know if it was CCNR's bylaws, I'm not sure, I don't think it's our operating rules, but I read something where you don't do it that night, but by the next meeting is when you announce who's going to be what.
The difficulty with that is that if you're going to do it the next meeting, it seems to suggest that we're going to have some sort of conversation in between, and that's not legal either.
At the next board meeting, you announce who's going to be doing it. So they do it somewhere between the night of
Well, I think we can clarify that, and we'll be prepared for it when that comes. We have up to September 20th, so I think we'll make some kind of conclusive decision on how that's going to be done. But I thought it was a little weird myself, but anyway. All right, on to the next question. Do we have another person who has a question, please? Out in the audience there.
Okay, my name's Elaine Penning. I live on 240 Summerset. All the cars fly right by my house as I'm trying to park out in my driveway. But that's not my question. I don't know actually if this is a question now or a comment. I've been thinking about it. I have been on boards. I've been a president of a board. I'm presently secretary of the Friends of the Brentwood Library Board. And I've been on a homeowners board before I ever moved here. Is there a way, I guess with what the rules are, the CCNRs and all the other things, to eventually change that rule of just, so somebody can be running for a position? So let's say I'm running for secretary, or I'm running for president, or the person who was vice president automatically rolls up to become president. Is there any way?
Penny, I have to cut you on
change
this.
those
I
things?
think what we're doing is we're trying to direct questions to the candidates.
Okay, is there any way to change that?
They're not in the capacity to do that yet. But
That's what
yeah.
as a board,
You might
would
be-
that be something that the board members would consider to think about and to change that in some way?
Okay, having past experience with this, I'm pretty sure civil code says that that's the way we have to do it. It's not an HOA rule, it's not our bylaws, it's not our CCNRs, it's a law. So, you'd have to write to your legislature and say, yada, yada, yada. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But maybe a happy medium is that we actually have a discussion up here in front of everyone, rather than a free-for-all where whoever gets the mic becomes president or something. If we can't change the law, we work within the law, and we have an actual conversation. What are you good at? Why are you good at it, etc. It seems to me like that didn't happen last time. But then there wasn't a lot of arm wrestling over it, so I guess it worked out in the end. But I guess I'm not answering your question.
No, but and I didn't really frame my question well because it was kind of spinning around in my head.
So what happened last time is we asked each person what they wanted to do with the, with the intent of if we had a conflict, then we would talk. We had no conflict. Doesn't happen all the time, but we didn't have any conflict that time. Everybody got the job they actually wanted to do, so.
Okay, Linda, did you have a response to that at all? Did you want to comment on the question?
I don't know if I already said that, but whatever I read was not the same thing Julie read, and you're not supposed to do it that night.
Our rule says, and I believe the civil code says, that you do it that night, the night of the member meeting, the annual meeting, I'm sorry, and if it's not possible to do it that night, then you do it the next board meeting.
Well, I think Sheldon may have another option for us, since it has to be an open session, maybe a collaboration as far as a discussion at that time, because I will tell you at that meeting, I was a little put off because it seemed like people were grabbing and resumed things by default. I know one person in particular said that to me. So anyway, on to the next question if we can. Yes?
Okay.
Gary Brand, 301 Upton Pine. Good evening, and thank you for your putting your hats in the ring to run. This question's for Linda. Linda, in your opening statement, you mentioned something about that the current board did something illegal. First part of it is, what was that, and what would you do differently to prevent something like that in the future?
Well, I didn't think this was the place to list that. How does anybody feel about it? The thing I wrote. I have one definite example. Let's see where I put that. Right offhand, without having to look in here. It's in here somewhere. The most recent, over in that corner are those things that they use to block the doors, the exit doors, for their reasons, but it's illegal. So, I don't know what those things are called that are over in the corner.
Linda's speaking about the door stanchions that were put in there, and I will share with you all, and I'm probably going to go into this a little more than I should, but they were put there because during events, people were going out to the pool area and potentially with children and whatnot, with alcoholic beverages and whatnot. We were concerned about the safety factors, and those stanchions were a means to address people from going out there, because we were telling them and they weren't going out. They were going out anyway and not listening about returning and containing themselves in here. And basically, I will tell you, we found out about it afterwards because it was reported to the fire department and not told to us. And we did not think it was an issue. And actually, we were addressing a homeowner's concern, and we thought we were remedying that. So that was with the cause and effect. And so they have been removed and they're not being implemented. So that said, it's done.
Well, what happened with that, when I came over on a game day, I saw them blocking the doors, and I knew what's going on. So I did email Austin, and I said, what is this? And he said, all 5 board members voted for it. And I'm sure I said something like, I thought it was illegal. I would check with the fire department. And I did. And I wrote back to Austin, and I told him what they said. And then he said, you will soon be getting a visit from the fire department to let them know you can't do that. That's how it worked.
And Linda, they showed up prior to anyone investigating that. So I will tell you that if we had been aware, and we were quite embarrassed and felt actually humiliated that the police department or the fire department came. Anyway, that is not what this meeting's about. Let's progress on to the next question, okay?
But I want to make it clear, I told you that the fire department was going to be visiting Summerset II.
And I received that email after the fact. So I'm not sure where I am at fault for that. Anyway, let's move on to the next question. I think we have 2 questions, and we're, I believe, on to my question here. Okay, this is coming from, let's see, this is going to Linda Ham, and it is from Ben Finnegan. Okay, let's see. First, as someone who admits in your statement, as well as several times during open forum at board meetings, that you are limited in your technical skills, how will you manage the voluminous amounts of electronic correspondence a board member receives, as well as navigate through documents? The board's portal on the website and other methods of communication distributed to amongst the board. It can be overwhelming for the savviest technical person, so I would be concerned that should you be elected, your admitted lack of technical skills would be a hindrance to you performing effectively as a representative of this community. We have several methods of communication in place that do not require a homeowner to own or use a computer or smartphone. The newsletter is printed, the information is posted in Clubhouse and exegates. One could call the office or management company for information. I'm curious as to what you would do differently and in an efficient, expedient, and cost-effective way to a homeowner whom you claim does not have technology. That's for Linda Ham, please.
Anyone? Yeah. That's been a subject I have brought up many times through the years. I'm still nervous. The qualification to be on the board is nothing other than you have to live here 1 year and you're up to date in your dues. That's it. Doesn't say anything about technology. So, but I hate to keep repeating myself because it really goes on empty ears, I believe. This is what I've said many times. Not everyone is on constant contact or the web. Not everyone gets a newsletter. Not everyone goes to the clubhouse. And not everyone lives in Somerset. So I have read these rules and bylaws many times, and they're kind of hard to understand, the legal talk. So there are some things that all you have to do is just post it in certain areas, like I do, but then there's other information that needs to be mailed home.
I'm going to just share an opinion on that. I personally received 50...
I don't know if that's appropriate also.
Okay.
I would ask you respectfully to
Okay,
let Linda say her
let me
piece.
rescind that.
Thank you.
Okay, that being said, let's go on to, I believe we're into the audience again for a question. We have a person, please? Yes.
My question is about the pool. My question is about the pool. I don't understand. Oh, I'm sorry. Gail McNamara, 483 Summer Redway. I have noticed there are people coming with all their pool equipment and all these children that don't live here. They're coming and they're parking in the golf course. And they're coming through the gate, and there's nobody that stops them. I would think that we would have maybe a couple volunteers, or maybe, rotate having somebody at the gate and asking them, where do you live? Oh, a 2-year-old says, my grandma lives here, but she's not with us. No, that's not cool.
Gail, who are you directing your question to?
Oh, I have no idea. All of you, I guess. Sorry.
Well, I accept your rebuke. The pool, I was very much in favor of bring one, bring all at the beginning of this discussion about opening the pool to guests. I thought, what a lovely thing to have people bring their grandchildren in and maybe bring in their kids or whatever. And I was feeling very self-assured and sitting out there sunning myself. Don't I look terrific? And a wagon train of people came in.
All right.
With food, and I swear, 10 kids, stair steppers down to toddlers, and not that they're breaking any rules, but I had to admit to myself that I see the point of people who were saying, maybe we need to question this policy a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe we have too much laxity. I have heard discussions, by the way, of pool monitors in the future. Nothing official, but I think your idea deserves to be discussed.
Good.
I think it would be expensive. So that's
What do you
something.
mean expensive?
Well, you have to pay people to monitor the pool.
No.
No, you're gonna do it?
Yeah, I'll do it for an hour, and then somebody else can do it for an hour.
It's until 5:30 p.m. on weekends. I'm sorry, you signed up.
Sign her up.
Yeah, I think it would be expensive, even at minimum wage. I mean, we pay the people at the gate, so we would pay people at the pool. If that's something the community wants to look into, it's not free. So that's
But
the
even if
balancing act.
everybody volunteers for an hour or two.
If everybody volunteers and you want to organize that, no, I'm just kidding. I think it would be difficult to organize 1 hour at a time.
Yeah, probably.
I think we'd have to have chunks or we'd
Well,
have to
it's
have
just a
days.
suggestion.
All details we can look into, but I wanted to say I hear you. Because I changed my mind on that one a little bit.
Good.
I've had a thought on this, and I can't remember if I've ever brought it up. But I think if you just hire like a teenage boy on the weekend, during the height, they're not all day long, you don't have to do it from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And just for maybe a month or so, enforce the rules, because right now nobody is enforcing the rules. Do that for maybe a month or two on the weekend during the height of it. And people will start to get the message that they can't break all these rules.
Okay, as far as rule breakers and monitoring the pool, we're all adults and we all live here. We are supposed to know what the rules are. We're supposed to follow the rules. And if we as adults can't follow our own rules, what does that say about us as adults? There are people who come up to the pool with their grandkids and their kids, and they bring food, they enjoy themselves. Our pool, and I'm making this up, on average probably has 2 people in it from about, I don't know, 3 o'clock until maybe 6. On weekends it does get busier because kids are around and you want to bring your grandkids up to the pool. But our pool is really underutilized. And as far as having someone monitor the pool, we would have to pay them, which would be an additional expense because, you know, it's hard to get volunteers, I mean, to do pretty much anything. People have lives, they don't really want to spend it, well, except for a couple people that are on the Rascals and, you know, involved with other things. So it's hard to get people to volunteer for things, to just go up and sit and we check driver's license and say, yes, you can come in, no, you can't because you don't live here. Keeping a better eye on it, I don't know who would do that without a paid, as Sheldon said, without a paid person at the gate. So.
Okay, with that, we're going to go on to the next question, right in. This is from Bill Vihan, actually. Name your top 3 HOA priorities, goals, and how you would accomplish them. And that's directed to all. So Julie, you want to start?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Do you mind?
No.
Okay.
I'm just trying to be fair and do alphabetical order.
I actually have exactly 3, so I'm glad he asked that. One of them is, as I said earlier, I hate to keep harping on this, but that curb out there needs to be painted red. I think we should do it being very aware of how it might affect the residents who live on the other side. You know, so I'm not saying we should just rush in and paint the curb red and say live with it. I've already talked to Linda about it, and Linda's position on it, if I can speak for you, was wouldn't affect my life all that much. And she also pointed out, we have ample parking right over here in this beautiful parking lot, so it's not that many more steps to save a life. So that would be one thing. The other one is, I don't really know what to call it. There was a gentleman I keep forgetting his name, he has a lovely British accent, I don't know if he's here today.
Derek Oxley.
Derek Oxley. Okay, Derek. And he said, he called them verges, which is the English way of saying the tree belt, leading in. If you've been to Summerset I, some of the other places like ours, we have this beautiful palatial kind of entrance that's so gorgeous, and you think, oh my gosh, these people are so rich. And then you come to ours and you go, what's with the weeds? There's weeds, there's trash out there, there's broken lights next to some of the palm trees. That's going to be a heck of a project, I understand. I know it won't be done overnight because part of it probably belongs to Merrill Gardens, part of it belongs probably to the lovely golf course club, what do they call it? Relationships.
Just say Rex.
What's that?
Just say Rex.
Okay, Rex, or Rex. So it's going to be difficult, I know, but I think it's a project that's really worth looking into because we deserve to have just as beautiful an entranceway as any other community does. And the other one was that I looked in our CCNRs, our bylaws, and our, what's the other one called? Operating rules, yes. I don't see the word ethics in there anywhere. And I think that the board members should be willing to agree to a certain code of ethics with the way that board members speak to our community during board business at the meetings and an official capacity as a board member outside of the meeting. Now, if people want to speak to each other in an inappropriate way, in my opinion, on their own time, that's their business, that's between them and their God. But as far as when you're a board member, I think you should be expected to use a bit of civility when you're speaking to and regarding members of the community whom you represent. That's my 3.
All right, well, I'm not very good at on-the-spot questions like that. But I can't emphasize anymore, communication is a big deal around here. There's so much lack of information. We don't know where to get some of it. I just learned, the other day I thought, I don't know what I don't know. Because of lack of communication, and part of it's because I'm not on the constant contact in the web. But I'll bet maybe 2 people in this room know where we keep the minutes. There's no consistency to what we do from, I guess, year to year. And ever since the renovation here, the minutes haven't been kept posted on the hallway like it used to be. And I bet really almost nobody knows where they are kept now.
Julie?
Okay. As I said originally, I think the #1 goal for our board is to make sure we maintain the house value of the residents, the members. So we have to make sure that we maintain association property in a manner that's judiciously, we spend judiciously. We don't just go out and buy things because we think it would be nice. Maintaining a reserve, that would be a huge goal. Everybody knows prices have gone up. Everybody's paying more for everything. We still have to maintain that good reserves, because if we don't in the future, we don't want an assessment. So if we take care of business now, we won't have to do that later. And we want to update, I feel we should update association property, because we want new people to come in and buy here, because that keeps our community healthy. Thanks.
Okay, we'll take it right in, and that's coming from myself. And Austin Fane, 341 Upton Pine. This is directed to Sheldon Helms. Sheldon, you have documented postings on Nextdoor of erroneous information on a public forum that undermined the board and said the board was not being transparent or potentially invading your privacy. If elected to the board, what would be your practice in relation to your postings on Nextdoor?
Well, first of all, I didn't say that, and I know that. He said he did.
I did.
I actually have the screen captures, and I have the screen captures of your responses that got you booted out of my Nextdoor group. So I could read those now, but I won't do that. I won't take up people's time. What he's referring to is the fact that the board was discussing, not voting on, as you put it in your comments. I never said that. I said I was against putting in license plate readers for a number of reasons. There were a number of people in the community who felt the same way, and we had some discussions about that. Some people felt that it was an expense that was simply not justified. My position on it was a civil rights issue. I do not want or need people knowing when I am coming and going from my community. So what I said in that case was not maligning the board in any way. What I said was, I know some of the people on the board right now. That may not be the case in the future. But if they are the only ones that have access to that information, it is still a violation of my civil rights, and I stand by that statement.
And to clarify that, I will say that...
I don't know if it's appropriate for you to clarify.
I think it is.
You asked the question, and I answered the question. I'm not interested in debating you tonight.
Well, I will tell you that is not correct.
You asked the question, he gave an answer.
Okay.
You're done.
Okay, next question, please. We have 3 minutes. Anyone?
I think Dave had a comment early.
Yes, he did.
Early on. Put your hand up for a comment.
Yes.
Dave Griffin. What are we, 203?
209 Upton Pine. I live on the corner. I see everything on that corner. When I was in Rascals, I painted that curb red. The reason was we had all these cars parked there because they were going to the swimming pool. The guy with the motorhome came along and wiped out 7 of them. I could see the same thing like the other day. There was a contractor over here moving somebody. On the other side was all these cars parked. And you had people who made one-way traffic because they had to wait for somebody else. If they don't decide to wait, then the other guy's going to get hit.
What's the question? What's your question?
Do you remember that?
Do I remember that? Why, no, I don't, because I don't think I lived here, but I do know that the gray curb that you're talking about by the pool used to be red, and then it was painted gray, and I don't know what the reason was why the board decided to change it. They probably got resident comments that said, there's not enough close parking by the pool, we need more, so please paint that gray. And that's a guess. I'm not sure really why they changed it from red to gray, but sorry, I can't back you up.
Is this on? Oh, is it on? Well, I don't remember the exact wipe it out, but I do live here. And what drives me crazy is the inconsistency of, is this going to be a red curb or is it going to be a gray curb? And it continually, I don't know how anybody can function when they don't know from year to year or whatever, what the curbs are going to be like. But I do know that that is a problem area, that curve. And some of it had to do with the hedge that used to be there. It was a 6-foot hedge. And a person from the city came and spoke with us about how the narrow streets, and that the most inexpensive thing would be to cut the hedge down. So that's what they did. That along with, I guess, putting in the red, I don't know the timing, I can't remember what year and what was done. But anything to keep people from coming down around this curb when they can't see if a swimmer is walking across the street to go to the parking lot or get into their car. It's a dangerous area.
If there's time, I just wanted to add one more thing on about that. I talked about this red curb thing a year and a half ago. One of the things that our management company is supposed to be doing, according to my notes, is record keeping track of the decisions that are made during the board meetings. When I asked, what is the history out here? Because you can see the red curb, the red paint under that gray paint. And I thought, well, what do you know? It's chipping, it used to be red. I was told we really don't have records on that. You could have knocked me with a feather. I run a little psychology club at Ohlone College where I teach. We've been doing it for 15 years. We have top name scientists and people from around the world who visit to give talks. We have weekly meetings. I've been doing this for 15 years. I have every agenda we have ever had at every meeting. I have every note, every dime we've ever spent, and I think Sims should be able to have that too. Now, I can't say for sure they don't have it, but at the time I checked in, I was told we really don't have records that far back. And I thought, well, that would have been really useful, and I would have liked to know about this RV situation. So I don't remember it, and to answer you, but wow, I bet you do.
Testing. Yeah, hello.
I think we had a question back there. One last question.
What about the write-in question?
I think that we're...
I have a question. My name is Roy Capser, 1577 Rubidel. I'd like to know how you guys are going to do your code enforcement. All this traffic stops and all these bumps are off because people are not observing the rules here. What's your approach?
It's to the board, that's to the candidates.
my own. I don't know what authority I have.
Well, as you said, I don't know what I don't know. I know that the Board Advisory Committee looked into the speeding issue quite thoroughly, so the first thing I would do would be check with them and see what are our rights to, you know, like other people have said, we're not the police department, we're not highway patrol, but it is an issue, so we do need to find out what are our rights to stop this, because it's very dangerous.
I think this question comes up a lot, that there is speeding in our community, and I think the answer is always, we are adults, we should observe the speed limit. However, there are vendors, there are outside companies that come in, and they do barrel through our streets. I'm not sure what the solution would be, because we cannot hand out tickets, nor would the board want to do that. The streets are private, the police aren't going to come in and set up, you know, a radar to make people slow down. We've talked about putting in speed tables, speed bumps, you know, whatever, to try to get people, and I think it's more vendors than maybe residents, to slow down. If anybody has a solution or has an idea that we haven't talked about or haven't tried, you know, let the board know. I'm sure they'd be happy to hear from somebody that might have an idea about how to reduce the speeding in our community.
It is the homeowners. I look out that window every day.
Okay, with that, I think we may have a couple more minutes. I'm going to ask for closing statements. I'm going to ask that your statement be 1 minute. Starting with Julie, please. Yes? Okay, one more question, please.
What about the writing questions that you haven't gotten?
I have done the write-in questions as time permitted, and we are limited to up to 6 o'clock, and I'm leaving it a minute per closing statement. Do you have one that you'd like to ask?
No. Well, why do you say we have limited time when you haven't gotten through all the writing questions?
I don't have the time permitted to do all the questions, so the attendees are taking priority, and I'm sorry, I tried to cover as many as I can here. So, that being said, if you guys want to continue, can we continue?
It seems like a personal edit of yours.
No, it's not a personal. I'm trying to manage everyone here, and I think I'm being as fair as possible. So, would you guys like to do your last closing statement, or what?
I'd just like to say that rather than all the arguing, you probably could have read the question.
Well, I apologize for that. I will do a better time next time if I have a time. I am a volunteer too.
My vote.
Just use your teacher voice.
Thank you, I'll talk like this. My vote is that we respect people's time because, you know, some people might need to leave and we might say something that they miss, and I think that's unfair. So maybe closing arguments real quick, and then if people want to stick around and ask us questions, I'm sure we'd be happy to do that. But I always like to be a timekeeper.
Good?
I'll go first.
Julie, so we have way up.
Don Rogers, 1579 Rubidoux Lane. And my question is for Austin and Sheldon.
Austin's not.
No, but given this little outburst that was over the next door, are you two guys going to be able to work together on the board? Hello? Sheldon.
The quick answer is yes. There are going to be disagreements. Austin and I have a history. That's fine. You know, we're both grown men. I think we can work together for the better of the community. Good. But I felt the need to defend myself whenever something is said about me that's not true. Yeah. And I will always do that.
Okay, ready, set, go?
Yes.
All right. Summerset II is advertised as a 55-plus active adult community. Now 65 is the new 55, 75 is the new 65, and so on. Members are staying active longer, and the board needs to ensure we are representing the full population in committees, clubs, and on the board. A fair share of our new residents still work and have interests outside the community. The question is, how can we engage those members and the members who have been longtime residents? I encourage everyone to attend the September 20th annual meeting to learn firsthand who will represent you on the board, and I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm not sure if I knew I was supposed to do this, so this is real quick. I just want to find out how this place works. I've been curious for a long, long time, and I'm willing to put in the time to do it.
Mine's just short and sweet. I'm a psychology professor. I believe that even when people disagree, we should be able to address the community in a respectful manner. I think rationality and respect should always be the guiding principle, and as I said earlier, I've seen those qualities lacking in some of the encounters I've witnessed at board meetings and by some board members as well. That's going to be my primary goal, to bring civility back to the way that our board runs.
Okay, that being said, I think we've finished with this evening. I invite you all to stay on and talk to the candidates. Julie, have one last thing?
Can I say one more thing? I wrote up some notes for people, English teacher. If you want to, this is a summary of what I had said, some of what I said. So if you want one, they're up there on the table.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you. See you later.